You ever look back at something from your childhood and think, man, if they knew what I was really capable of, they never would have messed with me? Yeah, that's me. And this is the story of how I turned from the quiet kid everyone picked on into their worst freaking nightmare. I was 12 when I learned that silence doesn't protect you. It just makes you an easy target. I wasn't ugly. I wasn't stupid. I was just there. The kid who didn't talk much, who sat in the back of the class, who got nervous around girls and hated drawing attention to himself. And that, apparently, made me perfect for a group of bored, spoiled kids who thought life was one big game of let's ruin someone's day. I remember the exact moment I snapped. It was the middle of 7th grade, and I was sitting in the cafeteria, eating my peanut butter sandwich, minding my own business. Out of nowhere, a loud smack hit the back of my head. My whole tray went flying. When I turned around, there was Brian, the king of the school, quarterback in training, rich dad, perfect hair, laughing so hard he almost choked on his soda. His two idiot sidekicks, Tyler and Mason, were practically rolling on the floor. And then, of course, there was her. Emily, the queen bee, the girl every guy wanted and every girl wanted to be. She was sitting 2 tables over, watching me with that fake innocent smirk, like she didn't tell them to do it. Like I didn't hear her voice earlier. Oh my God, you should totally mess with him. He's so weird. The whole cafeteria laughed. I wanted to disappear. I felt my ears burn, my stomach twist, and for the first time, something else, anger. Not just hurt, but pure, white-hot rage. See, that wasn't the first time they humiliated me. Oh no, that was just another one of their greatest hits. A week before, they dumped chocolate milk into my backpack. A month before, they spread rumors that I was in love with the lunch lady. Don't even ask. It was always something. And every time I just took it. I thought ignoring them would make them stop. Spoiler alert, it didn't. But that day, with the cafeteria laughing and peanut butter dripping off my shirt, I looked up at Brian and thought, one day, you're going to regret this. All of you. I didn't say it out loud. I just cleaned myself up, went home, and stared at the ceiling for hours. I wasn't crying. I was thinking. Planning. Because the truth is, I wasn't just some dumb kid. I was observant. I knew things about people. I noticed details others didn't. And I knew that people like Brian and Emily, they all had skeletons in their closets. You could call it my villain origin story. That night, I made a promise to myself. I wouldn't just get revenge. I'd destroy them. Not with fists, not with screaming or fighting. That's what they expected. No, I'd use my brain. I'd hit them where it hurt most. It's been years since that day, but I remember every detail like it happened yesterday. The sticky cafeteria floor, Brian's smug face, Emily's fake laugh. That was the last day I let them break me. What they didn't know was that I was about to become their biggest mistake. If you want to understand why I went full mastermind mode, you need to know who I was up against. These weren't just some random bullies. No, these were the royalty of my middle school. They ran the place like their own personal kingdom, and I was just a pawn they loved to crush. Let's start with Brian Carter, the golden boy. Tall, athletic, perfect smile that looked like it was sponsored by Colgate. His dad owned half the car dealerships in town, his mom was on the school board, and his older brother had already graduated as a football star with a full scholarship. Everyone assumed Brian would follow in his brother's footsteps. Teachers adored him, girls chased him, and even the principal treated him like a celebrity. But behind that perfect smile, he was a monster. The kind of guy who could humiliate you and somehow make everyone else laugh along like it was the funniest thing they'd ever seen. Then there were his 2 shadow puppets, Tyler and Mason. These guys weren't smart enough to come up with their own cruel ideas. They were just Brian's echo. If Brian told them to jump, they asked how high. If Brian told them to mess with me, they did it with extra flair, desperate for his approval. Mason was the muscle, bigger than all of us, already shaving at 13, and always ready to shove someone into a locker. Tyler was the funny one, skinny, wiry, with that loud, fake laugh that always came right after Brian's jokes. And then there was Emily Summers. She was complicated. On the surface, she was pure perfection, straight A's, flawless blonde hair, the kind of smile that could melt ice. But she was also Brian's girlfriend, which made her the queen bee by default. I used to think she was nice. Back in elementary school, she once helped me pick up my books when I dropped them. But by 7th grade, she'd turned into this cold, calculating person who seemed to enjoy watching people suffer. She never got her hands dirty like the guys did. She didn't need to. A single whisper from her, a single, "Wouldn't it be funny if?" And I knew I was screwed. This group had the entire school wrapped around their fingers. Teachers didn't want to believe the golden boy and his crew were capable of anything bad. Kids wanted to be them, or at least be liked by them. And me? I was their favorite target because I wasn't part of the cool crowd. I didn't wear designer clothes, I didn't have the latest phone, and I definitely didn't have rich parents to back me up. I remember one day in gym class, we were running laps. I was already out of breath. Yeah, I wasn't exactly the athletic type, and Brian decided to motivate me. He jogged up behind me, smacked me on the back of the head, and yelled, "Come on, slowpoke. Move your nerdy legs." The entire class laughed, including the coach. Not a single adult ever stepped in. It was like I was invisible unless I was being humiliated. Another time, Tyler spread a rumor that I had a crush on Emily. I didn't. I mean, sure, she was pretty, but I knew better than to even think I had a chance with someone like her. But once that rumor started, Brian made sure to turn it into a circus. Every time I walked by, they'd start fake flirting with me. "Hey, lover boy. Oh, did you write Emily another love note?" It was relentless. And Emily? She didn't shut it down. She'd just roll her eyes, laugh, and say, "EW," as if. The worst part? They made everyone else laugh too. Kids who used to sit next to me at lunch started avoiding me. I became the punchline of every joke. I could feel my confidence evaporating day by day. But somewhere deep down, I was also collecting information. I started noticing things. Little cracks in their perfect lives. Brian, for example, wasn't as squeaky clean as everyone thought. I once saw him sneaking answers on a math test. Mason had a temper problem. He nearly got suspended for shoving a kid against a locker when nobody was watching. And Emily? She had a secret Instagram account where she posted things she'd never want her parents or the school to see. I wasn't sure what I was going to do with all that information yet, but I kept it locked in my brain. I knew, eventually, I'd use it. Looking back, I think they underestimated me because I never fought back. I was the quiet kid, the one they thought would just take it. But the thing about quiet kids? We notice everything. We wait. We plan. And oh man, I was just getting started. You know how there's always that one moment? That single incident where everything flips, where you just say, "Enough. I'm done being the victim." Yeah, for me, that moment came on a rainy Thursday afternoon. It started like any other crappy day. I'd spent the morning keeping my head down, hoping Brian and his pack of hyenas would find someone else to torment. But apparently, I was their favorite entertainment. By the time lunch rolled around, I had that familiar pit in my stomach, the kind that tells you something bad is coming. When I got to my locker, I immediately noticed something was off. There was this disgusting smell, like rotting food. My heart sank as I pulled open the metal door. What I saw made me gag. They'd stuffed my locker full of half-eaten sandwiches, sour milk cartons, and what I'm pretty sure was a dead fish from the science lab. It wasn't just gross, it was deliberate. They wanted me to make a scene. Right on cue, Brian and his crew showed up, laughing like they'd just won the lottery. "Yo, nerd boy," Brian called out. "What's that smell?" "Oh wait, it's you." The hallway exploded with laughter. Tyler had his phone out, recording everything, and Mason was doubled over, holding his stomach like he couldn't breathe from laughing so hard. I froze. I could feel every single eye in the hallway on me. My face burned, and my hands trembled. I wanted to scream, cry, do something, but all I could do was stand there while they made a fool out of me. Emily walked by, smirking as she muttered just loud enough for me to hear, "Pathetic." And that word? That single word cut deeper than all the laughter. Tyler yelled, "Come on, dude. Show us that famous loser face for TikTok." He shoved the phone in my face, and I snapped. Not physically, but inside. Something inside me just hardened. I slammed my locker shut, grabbed my books, covered in slime and trash, and walked out without saying a word. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just felt this icy calm settle over me. That was the moment I decided I was done playing defense. I was going to go on offense. That night, I didn't do my homework. I didn't watch TV. I sat at my desk, staring at a blank notebook, and started writing. I wrote down every single thing I knew about them. Their habits, their secrets, their weaknesses, every cruel thing they'd done to me. Every time I'd seen them break the rules, every rumor I'd overheard. And then, As I stared at the list, a thought hit me. Why fight them directly when I can let the world see who they really are? They wanted to humiliate me? Fine. I'd flip the script. I'd show everyone what kind of monsters they were, and I wouldn't get my hands dirty in the process. Over the next week, I started paying attention like never before. I sat quietly in class, pretending to take notes while actually listening to every whispered conversation. I noticed when Brian skipped homework because he borrowed answers from a friend. I caught Tyler taking vape hits in the bathroom. Mason? I heard him bragging about stealing from the cafeteria cash box. These weren't harmless pranks. They were real violations. And Emily, sweet, perfect Emily? Let's just say her Instagram wasn't as private as she thought. One of her friends, who secretly didn't like her, gave me a peek at Emily's Finsta, fake Instagram. I found posts where she trashed teachers, made fun of other girls, and even posted a photo of Brian shoplifting candy from a store. Piece by piece, I was collecting ammunition. The turning point came when I realized I didn't have to fight them at all. I just had to let them destroy themselves. All I needed was proof, and a way to make sure everyone saw it. Looking back, I think they had no idea I'd stopped being scared. They still thought I was just that quiet kid. But I wasn't their victim anymore. I was their shadow, watching, waiting. And trust me, I was about to hit them harder than they could ever imagine. I spent the next few nights lying awake in bed, staring at the ceiling and replaying every humiliation I'd ever endured. The laughter, the whispers, Emily's smug little smirk. Every memory was like pouring gasoline on a fire inside me. But instead of letting that anger burn me out, I decided to turn it into fuel. See, I wasn't going to fight them physically. I'd lose, obviously. I wasn't going to beg the teachers or principal for help either. I tried that once. The guidance counselor just smiled politely and said, maybe if you tried being more friendly, they'd stop teasing you. Yeah, thanks for nothing. No, if I was going to get revenge, it had to be smart. I wanted to ruin them, not just for a day, but for good. I wanted to hit them in ways they wouldn't even see coming. The first step? Information. I started carrying a small notebook in my backpack, the kind nobody would notice, and I wrote everything down. Where they went after school, who they hung out with, what they posted online. I even tracked the times they'd mess with me and how. It was like building a case file for each of them. I also started listening. Really listening. At lunch, while sitting at my usual lonely corner table, I'd pretend to scroll on my phone, but actually tune in to their conversations. Tyler was an open book. He'd brag about vaping in the school bathroom or sneaking beer from his dad's fridge. Mason was worse. He'd talk about cheating on tests or stealing snacks from the cafeteria like it was a joke. And Brian? Oh man, he was dumb enough to talk about how he got the answers for his last math test from some freshman who'd done his homework for him. Then came Emily. She was harder to catch. She played the innocent, good girl act really well. But thanks to her Finsta account, I already had enough dirt to make her cry. I started taking screenshots, saving photos, and copying her mean comments about teachers and other students. One post, in particular, made my jaw drop. A photo of Brian shoplifting candy at a local convenience store with the caption, "Ride or die with my bad boy," winky face. If the principal or their parents saw this, they'd be done. But I needed more. I didn't just want to expose them. I wanted to orchestrate something so big, so undeniable, that they'd implode from the inside. That's when I had the idea of using social media as my weapon. If they loved humiliating me online, why not turn the tables? I created a fake account under a totally random name. No photo of me, no personal info, just a ghost account that I could use to watch them, interact, and eventually drop the bomb. I also upgraded my strategy. I borrowed my uncle's old GoPro camera. He used it for biking, and found a way to hide it in my backpack. It wasn't fancy, but it could record audio and video without anyone knowing. I started carrying it everywhere. If they messed with me again, I'd have proof. And sure enough, it didn't take long. The very next week, Brian accidentally tripped me in the hallway, sending my books flying. Tyler recorded it, laughing like a maniac. But this time, I was recording too. I caught everything. His face, his voice, and the laughter. And when I replayed it later, I realized how powerful this was. I didn't have to tell people they were monsters. I could show them. Over the next few days, I recorded everything I could. Mason shoving a kid against the lockers. Tyler vaping in the bathroom. Brian copying homework answers. Even Emily whispering nasty comments about her so-called friends. Every clip went into a secret folder on my laptop, like bullets I'd load into my revenge gun. But here's the thing. I wasn't ready to fire just yet. I wanted to build a nuclear bomb. Something so big that when I hit play, their entire fake image would explode, and there'd be no coming back. By the end of that week, I had a plan. I was going to gather every bit of dirt, every screenshot, every recording. Then I'd set the stage for their downfall, quietly, slowly, so they wouldn't see me coming. And the best part? They still thought I was the same weak, quiet kid they'd always bullied. They had no idea that while they were laughing at me, I was already planning the day the whole school would be laughing at them. If I was going to take these guys down, I needed more than just a few videos and screenshots. I needed to get inside their world. Not as a friend, God, no, but as someone they'd never suspect. The beauty of being invisible all those years. They never really noticed me. I could be standing right next to them, and they wouldn't even register I existed. I decided to use that to my advantage. The first step was simple. Stop looking like a victim. I didn't mean I suddenly became cool. I just started blending in. I got a decent haircut. Thanks, Mom. Stopped wearing baggy hand-me-downs and started dressing in plain, neutral clothes. Nothing flashy, nothing lame, just forgettable. I also forced myself to speak up in class a little more, not too much, but enough that teachers started calling on me and realizing I wasn't some mute shadow. The bullies didn't notice the change at first. Why would they? I was just their background character. But I started finding little ways to interact with them without raising suspicion. For example, in math class, Brian and Tyler were totally clueless with algebra. One day, when the teacher wasn't looking, I casually slipped Brian the correct answer for a problem he was stuck on. He looked at me like I was some kind of alien. Thanks, dude, he mumbled. I didn't smile, didn't act friendly. I just shrugged like it was nothing. But inside, I was grinning. Because I just planted the seed. If I was useful, they'd start lowering their guard around me. Over the next few weeks, I played the long game. I'd help them with homework here and there, quietly, like it was no big deal. Tyler even started asking me for answers before class, and I'd give him just enough to keep him coming back. I wasn't doing this to win them over. I was doing it to get closer to their secrets. I also made myself available in places they hung out. I knew they stayed late after school sometimes, goofing off near the gym or parking lot. I started hanging around the library or computer lab nearby, pretending to work on projects. That way, I'd bump into them, overhear conversations, and, if I was lucky, catch them doing something stupid on camera. And man, were they careless. Once, I overheard Mason bragging about how he borrowed his dad's car for a joyride, even though he didn't have a license yet. I made a note of it. Another time, Tyler pulled out his vape pen right outside the school entrance, like no one would ever dare report him. Guess what? My GoPro caught everything. But the real jackpot came when I started talking to Emily's friends. Not Emily herself. She wouldn't give me the time of day, but her circle of besties. Turns out, when the queen bee isn't around, her loyal followers love to gossip. All I had to do was sit at the edge of their table in the library, pretending to do homework, while they spilled secrets like a broken faucet. I learned that Emily had been fighting with Brian a lot lately, mostly because he'd been messaging other girls. Oh, and Emily. She had a habit of talking trash about her own friends behind their backs. I started putting all of this together like pieces of a puzzle. Every rumor, every secret, every dirty little habit, they all became part of my arsenal. The trick was not to rush. Every day, I'd gather just a little more dirt. Sometimes, I'd even bait them. Like when Tyler asked me to finish his English essay for him. I agreed, but I made sure to save our text exchange as proof he was cheating. Or when Mason asked if I could help him out by editing a photo to make it look like he caught a huge fish on a camping trip. Sure, Mason. But I saved that too, along with screenshots of him admitting he lied. By the end of that month, I had so much dirt on them it was insane. Videos, screenshots, text messages. They were practically handing me the rope to hang them with. And they didn't suspect a thing. The best part? I could see cracks starting to form in their perfect image. Brian was stressing over his grades. Tyler was getting reckless with his vaping, and Emily? Let's just say I had a plan brewing for her that would shatter her fake little princess act. But I wasn't done yet. Oh no, this was just phase 1. Next, I was going to turn their own friends, their classmates, and even the teachers against them. By the time I'd gathered enough dirt on Brian and his little crew, I realized I didn't just want revenge, I wanted a show. Something slow and painful, like watching a house of cards collapse one piece at a time. If I dropped all my evidence at once, it would be over too quickly. They'd just get suspended and move on with their lives. No, I needed to destroy their reputations from the inside out. The first thing I did was launch my fake accounts. I already had one ghost Instagram account, but I made two more. One that looked like a random student, and another that looked like a gossip page for our school. I called it Lincoln High Secrets, not the real name of my school, obviously. The profile picture was just our school logo, and I followed every single student I could find. Within 24 hours, I had over 150 followers. People love gossip, especially when it's anonymous. Then I started leaking little things. Nothing huge at first, just small rumors that were true enough to catch attention, but not enough to get traced back to me. For example, I posted a blurry picture of Tyler vaping behind the gym with the caption, "Guess the cool kid isn't so cool after all." It blew up. People started tagging him in the comments, laughing. Tyler freaked out, but he couldn't even prove it was him because I'd blurred his face just enough to make him paranoid. Next, I dropped a post about Mason bragging that he borrowed his dad's car without a license. I didn't even need a photo. I just wrote, "Crazy how some kids at our school think stealing their dad's car makes them cool." Everyone knew it was about Mason. The best part? His dad found out. Mason got grounded for 2 weeks, and he was pissed. But I was just getting warmed up. Brian was my main target. I had the video of him tripping me in the hallway, plus screenshots of him copying answers. I didn't release them all at once. I teased them. On the gossip page, I wrote stuff like, "Some people think being a football star means you can cheat your way through everything. Lincoln High's golden boy isn't as perfect as you think. Video coming soon." It drove people nuts. Everyone started speculating about who it was. Brian was losing his mind trying to figure out who was behind it. Meanwhile, I worked on Emily. She was trickier because she had a squeaky clean image. But remember her secret Instagram? I started screenshotting her cruel posts, ones where she trashed her own friends, and sent them anonymously to the girls in her clique. I made fake accounts to tip off her friends. "Hey, did you see what Emily said about you?" Boom. Drama. The group started fighting, and for the first time ever, the queen bee was on shaky ground. Teachers got involved too. I started sending anonymous emails from a burner account to a couple of teachers with concerns about cheating. I attached proof, screenshots of Brian's texts where he asked for answers. I knew they wouldn't act on it immediately, but I wanted to plant the seeds of doubt. And it worked. The mood at school started shifting. People weren't laughing at Brian and his crew as much anymore. Whispers started. "Did you see that post? Do you think it's true?" They hated it, but they didn't know how to fight back. Because you can't punch a rumor. You can't shove an anonymous account into a locker. I remember one day in the cafeteria, Brian was visibly pissed. He slammed his tray down and said, "Whoever's running that stupid gossip page is dead when I find them." I just sat there eating my sandwich, pretending not to care, while my phone buzzed with new followers on my page. This was working better than I could have imagined. But I wasn't done. I still needed my big finale. What I had planned next wasn't just about rumors. It was about catching them red-handed in a way they couldn't deny. I was going to set a trap. Something so perfect, they'd basically destroy themselves. By the time my gossip page had blown up, I could feel the shift in power at school. The whispers weren't about me anymore. They were about them. For the first time, Brian and his crew weren't untouchable. And I was about to make sure they never would be again. The thing about high school, or middle school, in my case, is that people are like dominoes. You just have to tip one, and the rest start falling. My plan for part 2 of this revenge was simple. Make everyone see the truth, but let them believe they found it out themselves. I started by leaking small pieces of exclusive dirt, but this time I made it personal. For example, I posted a clip of Brian making fun of a kid with braces. It wasn't even me, just another poor guy who happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. When I uploaded the video with the caption, "Is this who we really want representing our school's football team?" the comments section blew up. Even people who were usually neutral started saying, "Wow, Brian's kind of a jerk." Then I went after Tyler. I had a perfect video of him vaping in the boys' bathroom, bragging like it made him cool. I sent the clip directly to the school's student council Instagram page from an anonymous account. They didn't post it, but they sure as hell talked about it. Tyler became that kid. Everyone started teasing him, not me. But my favorite moment? Emily. Oh man, this was beautiful. I dropped a screenshot from her secret Instagram, one where she made fun of her own best friend, calling her a try-hard loser who thinks she's hot. I didn't tag anyone. I didn't have to. Within hours, her entire friend group was in chaos. I walked by their table in the cafeteria and saw them arguing, with Emily practically screaming, "I didn't say that. Someone hacked me." Yeah, sure, Emily. What I was doing was psychological warfare. I didn't need to physically confront them. I just let the truth fester like poison. And here's the kicker. Teachers started to notice. After I anonymously emailed the principal a recording of Brian calling a math teacher an idiot, things got serious. The principal pulled Brian aside for a talk, and you could see the panic all over his face when he came back to class. By this point, the school had turned. The same kids who used to laugh at me were now whispering behind their backs. Brian and his crew weren't feared anymore. They were a joke. One day, I walked into the cafeteria, and for the first time, nobody laughed at me. Nobody cared about me. Instead, they were all watching Brian, who looked like he was about to explode. His own teammates were starting to doubt him because of all the rumors I'd planted about him cheating on tests. I didn't have to say a word. I just ate my lunch, watching from the sidelines as they started fighting with each other. Tyler blamed Mason for being careless. Emily accused Brian of being a jerk, and Brian? He was so busy trying to figure out who was behind it all that he didn't realize I was sitting 5 feet away, smiling on the inside. The final phase of this stage was to make sure the adults were against them too. I sent every bit of evidence I had, screenshots, videos, texts, to an anonymous Google Drive and sent the link to the school's disciplinary committee. I didn't know how long it would take for them to act, but I knew once they did, there would be no coming back for Brian and his crew. But I wasn't done. Oh no. I was saving my nuclear bomb for the grand finale. I had one more thing to do. Set them up for the ultimate public humiliation. Something that would get caught on video, go viral, and make sure they'd never live it down. And trust me, I had the perfect trap ready. The plan for my final move had to be perfect. I wasn't just looking for revenge anymore. I wanted a spectacle. I wanted everyone to see who Brian, Emily, Tyler, and Mason really were when the masks came off. And I knew exactly how to make it happen. It all started with a rumor I planted, an invitation to a fake end-of-year VIP party. I made it sound like the most exclusive event in our school's history. I even designed digital invites using a free template online, with the fake name of a student who supposedly had a rich cousin renting out a private space. The twist? There was no party. The location I listed was actually an abandoned warehouse just a few blocks from school. Of course, I made sure the invites reached Brian and his crew first. I left a printed version in Brian's locker with a note that said, "Only for the best of Lincoln High. No losers allowed." I knew his ego wouldn't let him resist. Over the next few days, I accidentally let the gossip page leak hints about this secret party. I posted things like, "Can't wait to see who gets invited Friday night," winky face, and VIP only. Don't cry if you're not cool enough. Sure enough, Brian's group was bragging about going. Emily even posted a selfie with the caption, "Can't wait for Friday. #VIPLife." Meanwhile, I was setting up my real plan. I scouted the abandoned warehouse earlier that week. It was safe enough, but looked creepy on the inside. Perfect for what I needed. I brought my uncle's GoPro, a few wireless mini cameras I borrowed from my cousin. He used them for YouTube pranks, and set them up all around the place. My goal? Record everything. Then I planted my bait. I left a cooler filled with cheap beer, which I bought using a fake older ID I'd borrowed, along with a speaker playing some music to make it look like someone had already started the party. I even scattered some random party decorations, just enough to make them think they'd arrived early. Friday night came, and I watched from a distance, hiding in a nearby alley with my phone connected to the cameras. Right on time, Brian's crew showed up, Brian in his varsity jacket, Emily in some flashy outfit, and Tyler and Mason trailing behind like his loyal lapdogs. At first, they looked confused. Where is everyone?" Mason asked, scratching his head. "Maybe we're early," Emily said, rolling her eyes. "Whatever. Let's just start without them." They cracked open the beer, cranked the music, and started acting like idiots, dancing, throwing empty cans, and taking selfies for Instagram with captions like, "VIP party, baby." I was recording every second. Then came the moment I'd been waiting for. Brian started talking trash about everyone. teachers, teammates, even his so-called friends. I had crystal clear audio of him saying things like, "Coach is such an idiot. I only play because my dad donates to the school, and Emily's just with me because she wants to be queen bee." Emily's face was priceless. She didn't know I was recording, but she definitely heard him. They started arguing. Tyler laughed. Mason tried to calm them down, and the whole thing turned into a shouting match. And then, the cherry on top, they trashed the place. They broke one of the windows, sprayed soda all over the walls, and even recorded themselves doing it. I didn't have to lift a finger. They were digging their own graves. When I had enough footage, I triggered the final step. I posted a teaser video on my gossip page. It was just a few clips of them drinking, swearing, and fighting, blurred enough to keep them paranoid. The caption read, "Lincoln High's finest caught being their real selves." Full video dropping soon. By Monday, the whole school was buzzing. Everyone wanted to know who was in the video. Brian's group was panicking. They started accusing random people of running the page, but they had no clue it was me. I was holding the nuclear bomb, and I was about to drop it. Monday morning, I woke up with a feeling I can't even describe. It was like standing at the edge of a cliff, knowing the jump would change everything. I had everything I needed: videos, screenshots, proof of every dirty thing Brian and his gang had done. It was time to drop the bomb. I spent Sunday night editing the footage from the fake VIP party. I cut together the best moments. Brian trash-talking his teammates and teachers, Emily screaming at him, Tyler vaping and acting like an idiot, Mason breaking a window. I made sure their faces were crystal clear. No blurs this time. I wanted everyone to see exactly who they were. Then I added a few extra clips I'd been saving, like the video of Brian tripping me in the hallway, laughing while I hit the floor. I included screenshots of Tyler begging me for homework answers, and Mason admitting to borrowing his dad's car without a license. And for the grand finale, I added Emily's cruel posts about her so-called friends, with her username visible for everyone to see. The finished video was brutal. 7 minutes of pure chaos, showing their true selves. Every ugly word, every stupid stunt. Watching it back, I almost felt bad for them. Almost. At 7:30 a.m., I posted the video on my gossip page with one simple caption: "The real VIPs of Lincoln High. Enjoy smiley face." Within minutes, my phone exploded with notifications. Views were skyrocketing. By the time I got to school, the video had over 2,000 views. Half the school had probably already seen it. Kids were huddled in groups, phones out, laughing, gasping, pointing. When Brian walked into the hallway, you could see the exact moment he realized what happened. His face went pale. A group of juniors burst out laughing as they rewatched the clip of him calling his coach an idiot. Someone yelled, "Nice party, VIP." Tyler looked like he was going to puke, and Emily, let's just say she wasn't smiling anymore. By second period, the video had spread beyond the school. Parents were calling the office. Teachers were whispering in the halls. The principal made an announcement asking whoever is responsible for the Lincoln High Secrets page to come forward. Yeah, like I'd be that stupid. Then came the real explosion. During lunch, Brian's dad showed up at school. I saw him storm into the principal's office, phone in hand, looking ready to kill someone. 10 minutes later, Brian and his crew were called in one by one. They didn't come back out for the rest of the day. By the next morning, the gossip was everywhere. Word was that Brian got suspended indefinitely. Tyler and Mason were banned from the football team, and Emily's parents took away her phone and social media accounts after seeing her secret posts. Their perfect reputations? Completely obliterated. For the first time in years, I felt free. I walked into the cafeteria that day, and something strange happened. People smiled at me. Not in a mocking way, like actual smiles. A couple of kids I barely knew said, "Dude, that video was legendary." I just shrugged, acting like I had no clue what they were talking about. But inside, oh man, I was on top of the world. I didn't just win. I destroyed them. But here's the thing about revenge. It's not just about the other person. It's about taking your power back. And for the first time, I wasn't scared anymore. The Monday after the video dropped felt like I had stepped into an entirely different school. For the first time in years, I wasn't that weird, quiet kid. I wasn't a punching bag. I was just me, and no one dared to mess with me anymore. Brian and his crew, they were done. By the end of that week, the principal announced that Brian, Tyler, and Mason were suspended for behavior violations, and the gossip around school said their parents were furious. Brian's dad reportedly pulled him off the football team to teach him discipline. Mason's mom came to school screaming at the administration, but it didn't matter. The damage was done. As for Emily, oh, she tried to play the victim card, saying her account was hacked, but nobody bought it. Her friends turned on her, and she spent lunch sitting alone for the first time ever. I can't lie, watching the queen bee fall from her throne was satisfying. The funny part is, people started treating me differently. Kids I barely knew would nod at me in the hallways, like I'd earned some kind of respect. A couple of kids who used to avoid me even invited me to sit with them at lunch. It felt strange at first. I'd spent so long being invisible that I didn't know how to handle it. But something changed inside me too. I wasn't the same shy, scared kid anymore. I realized I had power. Not the kind that comes from bullying or intimidation, real power. The power of not caring what others think, of standing up for yourself in your own way. I deleted the gossip page after a while. I didn't need it anymore. I made my point. And honestly, I didn't want to become like them, feeding off someone else's misery. My revenge was complete. Over time, life just got better. I joined a photography club, of all things. The skills I'd learned while secretly recording my bullies turned into a passion. I started making videos, actual videos, the creative kind, not the revenge kind. People started noticing me for something other than being a target. And yeah, I started dating. There was this girl, Jess, who I'd never really talked to before. She said she liked how I stood up for myself and how I wasn't afraid to be different. We started hanging out, and for the first time, I felt like someone saw me for who I really was. Looking back now, years later, I realized that getting bullied was one of the worst things that ever happened to me, but also one of the best, because it taught me to fight, not with fists, but with my brain. It taught me that I didn't need to change who I was to win. I just needed to stop letting them control the narrative. Do I regret what I did to Brian and his crew? Not even for a second. They earned every bit of it. But I also learned something bigger. The best revenge isn't just making them fall. It's building yourself up so high that their opinions don't matter anymore. Today, I'm happy. I'm confident. And when I look back at that scared kid eating his peanut butter sandwich alone in the cafeteria, I just want to tell him, hang in there, kid. One day, you're going to rise so high that they won't even be able to touch you. Because I didn't just get revenge. I got my life back. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this story, leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and share your thoughts in the comments. Did he do the right thing?